Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. Welcome back to episode 120, Your Soul Has a Plan with Lisa Barnett. Before we jump into today's episode, a word from our sponsors, Living the Good Life Naturally Magnesium. This is my go-to brand for transdermal magnesium supplementation, which means through the skin. And you can do this through lotions, foot soaks, or my personal favorite, a bath. Make sure to listen to episode 73 here on Witchy Wellness Radio to learn more in depth from founder Kristen Bowen all about magnesium. Click the link in the show notes and use code WICHY, W-I-C-T-H-Y, for 10% off of your purchase. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 120, Your Soul Has a Plan with Lisa Barnett. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. This is a show you learn how your body and emotions are not in the way, but actually leading the way. And today we have the lovely Lisa Barnett, who is the international best-selling author of The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. In her third book, Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Purpose, will be available in August 2021. She is the founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, where she specializes in teaching you to access personal soul wisdom and guidance to transform your life, working directly with your soul's plan and the support of Akashic Records Keepers. Lisa offers Akashic reading and quantum healing sessions to clear out old soul contracts, release karma, and vows, helping individuals align with their soul's path. Whew, I am ready to dive deep into all of that today. Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to, share the infinite wisdom of the Akashic Records with people who are familiar and who have never really even heard of the Akashic Records. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I know we talked off air. It's like, you've been doing this for many years, but within the last 5, even 2 years, it's becoming more, I want to say a catchphrase, just like chakras people didn't know. And now but people might not know really what it is. So today we will dive into all of that. But before we do, I would love to hear how you found out about the Akashic Records and your beautiful healing journey, or just how life unfolded for you to do the work that you do today.
Wow. Thank you for asking. I kind of laugh because I'm like, well, my journey started when I was 3. So it can be kind of a long story, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes. So at 3 years old, I was actually kind of blown away and aware that I was trapped in a body. I remember thinking, oh my, like a body? No, And I told my mother I wanted to go home. And she'd just say, but you are home, dear. So she couldn't send me anywhere. So I stuck around. So when I was about 13, one of my 2 best friends died of a brain tumor. And it was a shock. And I felt, I'll never forget this, like feeling all night long that I should be able to do something. She was actually in a coma overnight. And I was like, I should be able to heal her. I should be able to do something. What am I going to do? And just feeling actually really guilty that I couldn't save her. So she did pass away that next day. And I actually triggered me studying. So I started reading the spiritual books that were just really coming out in the world. That was like the late 60s. And so Baba Ram Dass and Be Here Now. And the Maharishi was just really bringing transcendental meditation to the US. lots of new information. I always say one of my favorite books is Journeys Out of the Body, because I was always trying to escape by Robert Monroe. That was a good one. So I started to study and studied all the way through college and minored in philosophy. And a little bit, about halfway through college, my second other best friend, who was really my bestest best friend, my soul sister, died in a car accident. And so I decided that I wasn't going to do whatever it was I came to do, even though I had already now been studying for about 8 years or something, right? I basically told the universe to take a hike, and I decided I was going to go out and have fun and do whatever people do, which was always probably an enigma for a lot of you too. Like, why am I here? Why did I come? What's the purpose, right? So that became my journey for quite a few years, 10 or so years. I really kind of worked in corporate. I was a production manager in advertising and traveled and, had a lot of fun, and until I got really sick. And again, often we get sick in order, our soul wants us to slow down and regroup. When you're out of alignment as a soul, when you're not on your soul's path, or you're not walking, working in your purposes, we often will get sick or have an accident. Something often will stop us, slow us down, trigger us to be like, what's going on? What's happening here? So that was part of my journey, was really chronic fatigue and finding that Western medicine, again, at that point in the 70s and on into the 80s, they didn't really know what chronic fatigue was. So I ended up going to an acupuncturist who said, I can help you heal your body. I understand this. I can't help you heal your soul. Your soul wants to tell you something. So she sent me to one of her friends, who was an amazing clairvoyant, who said, you're a healer. And I was like, oh, well, no wonder I felt so bad when, my dear friend Marcia was in a coma, and I felt like I was supposed to go heal her, and I didn't know why. So that really started me getting back on my healing path. Obviously, I had studied for, almost 10 years as a kid. And so I started to study healing. I went back and became a healer, intuitive. And eventually, as I was working with clients, I get this huge, expansive information. And I think, wow, that's amazing. All these past lives, all these soul contracts, their future stuff, and, purposes, and all this, really amazing information. But I never thought to say, so who are you and why are you telling me this? So it literally went on for almost 5 years until I went, what the heck is going on here? And I realized that it was the Akashic Record Keepers, the beings of light that keep my records. We all have our own Akashic Records and record keepers. So they were trying to get my attention. I was very slow on the uptake. Took almost 5 years. But when I realized that I could actually access the Akashic Record, which I knew about from my trainings and my healing, when I realized you could go into the Akashic Record and access information, access information there. See, my healing teacher said that you couldn't go into the Akashic Records. You could go to the gates and ask them for healing energy for your clients, but you weren't allowed to go in, which was not true anymore. That shifted back around the 1960s, 1970s. So, so it was kind of interesting when I realized you could actually go into the records, that they would talk to me and give me information. That's, I realized, like, okay, there I go. That's what I came to do, after they yelled at me for 5 years. So,
well, I'm glad they finally got your attention. That's usually how things go. It's like the lesson, and the messengers keep telling us, maybe a little bit louder, so we listen, right. But we'll get it eventually.
One day. Yep. Thank heavens. That was crazy. I thought, how stupid could a person be? Like, who is this? Would be a likely question to ask. But so I say that because I always, it's not as likely as we might think. Many of us speak to spirits and different kind of guides, and we often don't say, who are you? Are you of pure light? Where are you from? Is this in my highest and best good to listen to you? And I think those are all great questions to ask whenever you're talking to something that you can't see, that's unembodied.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
I always ask, what is your intention as well? What's my highest good? The intention is a word I like to use. But what do you know what shifted between the 60s and 70s? I would love to find out.
Sure. Right. After all these years, I've asked them now every question I could ever think of. And because I do readings for clients, it's also really helpful because I get information from all these other, people's questions that I probably wouldn't have ever thought of. So I did say, what's up? What happened? Because my teacher said you weren't allowed to access the records. And so they explained that during the Dark Ages, which was about 1000 AD, people were misusing the information that they could get because we had a greater access to our kind of soul information and to spiritual information. I think the veil had been a bit thinner. People saw more angels and spirits. I think it was more, we believed in it more. So right when you magnetize what you believe in, and because we could believe that we could see these things and that they were real or fairies, right? We actually could see them because they are real. So more people had access to the Akashic Records and they misused the information for their own personal gain. So they used it to win wars or find someone else's money or gold or, whatever it was for their own gain. And so the record keepers decided that all these people were using the records out of integrity. And so they pulled the vibration away from Earth so that the only people who could continue to access it were the mystics, were the monks, were the meditators, right? Were the people who actually were living and working in a high vibrational energy and had integrity. So that aspect was available, but much more rarely, which is why we as humans literally forgot about it. And that's why it seems to be new information all of a sudden coming back. But it's old information and is really been part of a lot of the writing and channeling of many of the great spiritual texts that we've had on the planet. So some, they talk about the book of life in the Bible, which is the same, you're recorded in the book of life, that you have an Akashic record, you have your own books of your lives, right? So Hebrew tradition and the Kabbalah are also very connected to the Akashic field and all of this ancient information and wisdom as well as other. So it's not new. It's just that it kind of became very hidden until energetically we realigned to the galactic center. Astrologically, we moved into the age of Aquarius. We are moving back into a golden age. And so energetically, the vibration of the planet is raising. Our dear Earth is awakening. She's a sentient being, right? So it is time for all of us to have this access to be able to understand who we are as an ancient and wise soul and really access this, our soul plan, our Akashic records, understand our gifts and talents, what we came to do and be. So the record keepers always say it is your birthright now to have this information, which is why I teach people to do this for themselves.
Amazing. And I know that was kind of like hinting at really what it is. But if somebody maybe has heard the word Akashic Records or doesn't know anything about it, could you give us kind of the 101 of what it is, why it's here, and maybe even where it comes from? I don't even know this question.
Yes, absolutely. So the basic definition that I love is that the Akashic Record is the recording of your soul's journey through all time space continuum. So everything you have ever been or done here on Earth or in other places, planes, and dimensions, because I would really suggest that all of us are starseed. So we've all lived in other worlds, dimensions, planets. And so everything we've ever done is recorded in this etheric energy, which is part of divine source. It is part of the quantum field, part of the all. And it is really here to support us and to help us to understand, especially at this time in history, who we are and really how we've come to often be of service to help humanity to wake up and to transform and save our world, save our planet, right? So many of us are here to help in this transition, transformation, ascension process that we're going through.
Beautiful. And I love how you mentioned before, like even Mama Gaia is waking up, because is it the Schumann resonance? Is that what it is that you can actually record it? We've seen that it's actually, people can see that her vibration is going up, which is amazing. And for me, I just feel, and I would love to hear what you think. For me, I feel this shift, like we're all being called forward to raise this vibration. But for me, I feel like this 3D body is not supposed to come with me, but it's different this time around. And instead of, I love out of body stuff as well, but like, it's almost like we have this opportunity to raise that vibration without leaving this existence, if you will. I mean, this is just things that I think about and talk about all the time to my friends.
I totally agree. Honestly, what I'm seeing is that a lot of the energy that's coming to Earth, and we often will feel it in these kind of different alignments. Like we just went through August 8th, which is 8-8. It's a Lion's Gate. And there's a very strong alignment to the dog star Sirius and energetic opening. So they're kind of like portals opening and gateways opening so that we actually get more energy here on Earth. And so for some of us, it feels really expansive. Sometimes it's also exhausting because our body is literally trying to energetically step up. And we are trying to go from really carbon-based bodies to more light-based bodies. Now, I believe this is probably going to be a 20, 30, 50-year process. I'm not sure because I don't think we've ever done this before, as far as I know. So I believe our physical bodies are kind of slowly but surely transforming. And it has to be slow because, I don't know, otherwise it would just totally wipe us out. I don't think we could survive it, right? So it has to be kind of this slow shift. And as all these vibrations change, there's no way that really Gaia can awaken without us awakening too, right? We're riding on her. So as her vibration and frequency is raising, so is ours. And so it's pushing us. And what it's doing is, in a lot of ways, it's bringing up the old dark stories. It's bringing up all the imbalance. It's bringing up a lot of fear and trauma, and kind of darkness is part of who we've always been also, right? We do it all. We have thousands and we have hundreds and hundreds of lives on Earth, but we have, I think, infinite numbers in kind of our existence as an individuated soul. So we do really nice things, and we're awake, and we're just full of, peace and love and joy. And we do really dark things, and we create, dark worlds and all sorts of negative things. So in a lot of ways, we're in the process of trying to clear and release a lot of the old dark energies and patterns that we as souls that have created through all time. And so as we can clear that, we actually can reclaim some of our soul wisdom that got locked down in some of the kind of darker lives, as well as go back into, so even if you just imagined a life where you were burned at the stake for being a witch, right? So maybe you weren't dark, but of course there was the whole Inquisition and the judges and that whole energy around witches and killing witches and witchcraft and all of that fear, right? So all the people who killed us, as well as us, we're all kind of stuck in these trapped patterns. And so as we can go back and heal the emotional pain and trauma, which we can do in our Akashic records from any lifetime that we were killed, hurt, or harmed for being a healer, or, what was often referred to as a witch, but really we were doctors and healers. When we heal that, we free up our soul. We're literally retrieving soul splinters. So it's a type of soul retrieval that we can do in the Akashic records without having to relive it, but by seeing it, knowing it, healing the emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain, trauma that we had from that lifetime. We can reclaim the splinter, reclaim the gifts and talents that we had in that lifetime, and bring them into present time now. And as we do that, we're also freeing up a lot of the old energy from the other side. So the dark, the inquisitors, the person who lit the fire or whatever, all of those aspects. We're freeing up a lot of energy, and we're actually releasing some of these paradigms that have been stuck on the planet for, hundreds and thousands of years now. So what we're seeing is really a lot of the dark coming up to be cleared. So when we can look at it that way, kind of more clearly, and not take it personally, and not think the end of the world is coming because it's kind of screwed up as the world is, when we can do whatever work we can do for ourselves, for our own soul contracts, our own past lives that were traumatic like that, when we can heal that, we're helping to heal the collective of these same kind of issues and traumas also.
Yeah, I love that. For me, I find so much solace in that. Mm. And I find solace in this. It sounds counterintuitive, but we've been the abuser and the abusee, or however you want to phrase it. And the reality we're in now is this 3-dimensional reality where, like we said, there's the light and the dark, and there's just this contrast, right? And for me, for the world, really, this past year, 2 years, a lot of, like you said, you have to continue to do that work. I know personally, but globally, things have come up that, either we thought we dealt with, or me personally have been brushing underneath the rug.
Right.
And it's like, nope, this is the time I'm being called to do this. And for me, even though, I knew about past life and Akashic records, but for me, things have come up when I'm like, well, I don't have any specific trauma that I know of this lifetime. Why do I feel like I do? But it doesn't matter if it's this lifetime or whenever it's coming up for you to be cleared and to heal this lifetime. Do people come to you with things like, they're like, I feel like this type of trauma or abuse happened, but nothing actually has happened this lifetime?
Yeah, actually a lot of, I would say probably most of my clients come because they feel they have these kind of blocks, or, they're just stuck, or they can't make a decision and they don't know why, or they really want to do something and they can't, and they don't know why. Like, why am I so afraid to go speak on that stage, or to start a podcast, or, something that seems pretty innocuous, really. But it's because they have these past lives where they've been killed for speaking their truth, right? They might have been jailed as a traitor because you spoke a different opinion, or killed in that kind of way as a healer, or as a witch, or, just so many different, we've been part of governments and, whatever, transformed different governments and often got killed for doing that, or, or was usurped. We were, killed and somebody else took over the government. So we have all of these hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes with all these different kinds of experiences. So it's really common for people to be like, I don't know, I've got some weird trauma going on and I don't know what it is, right?
And what kind of things can people, pretty much everything, but what are some major types of blocks or areas of life that people come to have their Akashic records read, and also some healing?
Yeah. So, I think that most of us have kind of those basic questions, will I ever fall in love? Or should I get divorced because is my soul contract over? Or, what is blocking me? What's my soul path or purpose? How come I can't seem to find it? All of these kinds of things that, so relationships and soul contracts and purpose and talents and gifts and all of those, big questions. They're the big human questions, I think, that all of us have in some way or another. And so I would say that what I often explain, and I'll explain here because it kind of makes it easier almost to understand how life works, is that before we embody, right? When we're a soul going like, okay, I'm going back to earth, goody. What do I want to do, right? Who do I want to do it with? What do I want to learn? What do I want to share, right? What talents? What am I going to do? And so we write this huge manual, literally, we write a soul plan to be with other people, to support each other, to learn things with and from them. So those can be those really challenging relationships. Sometimes it's our parents that are challenging. Like I feel like an alien in my own home, right? Or maybe it's more kind of traumatic. And sometimes we just feel like we're born into the wrong family, but there's some gift, there's some information, there's some trigger, there's some reason you would pick that family. Sometimes it's actually to be with your grandmother or your aunt or someone else, your sibling. Sometimes the soul contract is with someone else, actually, than with your parents. So sometimes our parents are just kind of very strange souls that we don't really have a soul contract with, but we have one with, grandma who takes care of us and really ends up raising us, or whatever kind of that situation might be. And so we're very complicated. We write 25 to 50 soul contracts to support each other, to have relationships, to learn and grow. Sometimes they're short-lived. We might have, say, an unusual relationship where maybe we're married for 6 months or a year. We realize that the person there, we realize that there was some lesson in that relationship, and we learn it quickly, and on we go. Right. So sometimes we go, okay, this person is very codependent, and I'm being called to stand in my power and do the work I came to do. And I know I can't save you. So, bye, and it sounds kind of cold, but right. Sometimes that's part of the story. Or they turn out to be abusive and they hit it very well. And so we learn, hopefully quickly. Many of us live that way for, many, many, many years, even with in abusive relationships. But it's still about learning to stand in your power, to own your own, to be a sovereign, which is like to be the king or the queen of your body, to own this energy field, this beautiful body that we have, and be a sovereign soul in a singular body. And so as we can do that, as we can stand in our power, as we can align more clearly consciously with our soul gifts, then we really have an easier time making a new choice, whether it's, leaving that relationship or, doing something else. Again, making a new choice is one of the big reasons that we create challenges and obstacles so that we can wake up and go, oh, I can do something different. I can make a new choice, right? I can quit hitting my head against the wall. The door is just a foot over, right? So we come to learn and grow is part of the big purpose, is to live through our soul plan, to learn, to grow, to support other people, to reclaim a lot of our gifts and talents, to share them with the world. So our purpose is never a job description. It's not just one thing. It's many things, because we have many, many different gifts. And so embodying as many of those gifts as we can. All of that is part of your purpose.
I love that. And I was going to ask you next about your latest book, Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose. And I feel like that was a perfect segue without even knowing.
Oh, yes. So that's really what the book is about. And I really talk about how karma is about your soul's growth, and so many people really, don't realize these relationships, we planned them. We wrote contracts. Other people stood up and said, hey, I'll be, that terrible bully in your life. I'll help you stand up for yourself. I'll help you do that, whatever work that you want to do or learning that you want to do. And so all of these relationships, and when we can start to realize that the people that we consider, the bullies or the abusers or the angry, negative people or that awful neighbor that scratches your car all the time or whatever it might be, that there is an aspect of usually of soul growth in there. And certainly the bigger ones, maybe not the bully, but who knows? It depends on what your story is. Or the guy who scratches the bully, I would think would be a soul kind of contract about standing in our own power, right? Standing up for ourselves, speaking our truth, not letting other people run us over. And so what we find is when we can learn, when we can shift, then they kind of magically disappear, right? Because it's about magnetics. It's about magnetically you are drawing the bullies, the traumas, the people who are here to make your life difficult. You're drawing that to you. And when you clear it, they go away. They're not attracted to you any longer. So another really good reason, to do your own kind of spiritual work, soul work, so that we can kind of move forward with greater ease and grace. And so that's absolutely a lot of what my book is about, although I thought I'd have it out by now. And I think it's going to be later in the fall. So if you can't find it on Amazon yet, depending on when you listen to this, it would be on Amazon if you're looking for it. If it's not there yet, no, it's coming soon, and check back in a month.
Yes, coming soon. I know, I'm going to check back. I got a little bit of chills, and Lisa saw me when she was talking about the relationship, in and out of relationship, been married for only a few months, because I was thinking about that relationship in my head, which spurred over 4 or 5 years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point, this podcast. And the healing growth from that. And I will have to say that I had a beautiful dream after all that was over, that I just moved in the 3D reality into my new place. And in my dream, I had saw that past partner down the hallway in the apartment complex. And I freaked out in my dream. Oh, no. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want him to see me. I was so scared. So I ran down the other side of the hallway, and I was hiding because I didn't want him to see me or where I was living. And this being, it was him, but this being came to me and telepathically, it was his soul, said, I was with you the entire time. And it was just like right now, it's just this overwhelming feeling of love, which wasn't the person in this reality at all, but it was just this knowing, and that I really was able to experience what that means, like what Lisa just described. It's like at a soul level, you sign up for these contracts because you love that other soul. You sign up for that to teach them this lesson, to allow them to awaken to their own sovereign being and stand in their own power. So it's hard to when you're in the middle of things, but try not to look at those bullies or those difficult relationships as the bad people in your life. Teachers can be difficult, or they can be, they can be loving as well. But look at it as a teacher. Look at it at a soul level. What are they provoking in you? What are they having you look inwards towards? Oh, I've never actually shared that story publicly, but I felt so called to, because I was literally thinking about that when you were talking, and it was such a beautiful, profound moment for me in my own healing journey.
Oh,
yeah,
that is beautiful. And, I think it's probably one of the biggest reasons that we do come to Earth is, there's, of course, spirituality is complicated. So, we can do so much within, and self-love is so important, and before even loving another. But the other thing that I always get from the record keepers that is so important is forgiveness, right? Is learning to be compassionate and knowing that every single soul in a body is a divine soul. And you never know who might be part of your soul family, who you may have known for a very long time, and who volunteered and said, I'll be the bad guy for you because you want to learn this. You want to step out in this lifetime. So when we can see it that way, and obviously it came so clearly through to you, that it makes it easy to forgive. I think, it's a lot easier when you realize, I know this soul. This is someone from my soul family. This is someone I've known forever. And he was just acting out this way to help me wake up, to remember, right? So forgiveness is a huge piece of awakening. So compassion and forgiveness really lead to that next vibrational level of consciousness and awareness and awakening. So it is definitely worth doing, even though it's not always easy. But the Akashic Record Keepers many years ago gave me a forgiveness prayer, which is just really very powerful to do every single day. They suggest that we do it every day because we have other people to forgive who are not nice to us. Sometimes they were terrible and abusive, emotionally and physically. And then we sometimes are, the person who does something that's not nice. We might say something, we're joking or just flippant, and we really hurt someone's feelings. We're totally unconscious of it. So it's important for us to forgive ourselves for being that to someone else, consciously or unconsciously. And of course, it's important that we forgive ourselves every day because as humans, we are often kind of mean to ourselves, right? We're not smart enough or fast enough or a good enough cook or pretty enough or rich enough, right? All that kind of stuff. So all that self-talk. So doing some sort of forgiveness work every day really is very profound to kind of peel all of those layers of upset and hurt that we create in a lifetime.
I love that. And when you were talking and you talked about Bob Ram Dass at the beginning, we're all just God in drag, right, is one of the favorite spiritual quotes. Oh, he has so many, but we're all just God in drag. That's all it is. And I like the humor behind him as well. But I just looked at the time, Lisa. Is there anything else you would like to wrap up or cover before we start to close the show down today?
Gosh. I really think we've touched on so much and even more sometimes in this. So really, I love that that we got to touch on everything from past lives to our galactic selves, and so I just think my biggest message is really very much about realizing and owning your infinite self, realizing that there is no death ever, and even as sad and painful as it is on the planet, as we see earthquakes and wars and all of this, the soul never dies. We really truly are awakening, and the highest and best thing we can do for the planet and for ourselves is to do our own healing work. So that's kind of the idea before we close, because I know that we can all do it. That's why we're here. That's exactly why we've come at this time in history.
Amen. Amen. And I was going to add the perfect answer for the next question, but you could say the same thing or a different, whatever you feel called to say. But thank you so much for coming on and holding this beautiful healing space, this conversation itself, but also the work that you do with other people to help them heal, but empower them to do the same thing in their own life through Akashic Records. And how may we, the listeners, as a gift of gratitude, be of service for you in return today?
Well, thank you. So, of course, one of my highest purposes and desires is to share the Akashic Records with humanity. They asked me to help share it with humanity. So it's always been a bit of an overwhelming purpose. But one of the ways I love to do that is by sharing a kind of a simple 10-minute guided visualization that will take you into your own Akashic record, to see your beautiful library, to go into the Akashic garden that is part of your soul's garden, to bathe in the river of forgiveness, and even to be able to reclaim 3 of your soul gifts. And so I would love to offer this free gift, which is on my website, right there on the homepage in the right-hand column, just to make it easy that you can download this beautiful guided visualization and start to play deeper into the Akashic record. And as you do this, you're, of course, always helping to heal humanity.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on. It was magical and mystical experience with you today.
Oh, thank you, Laura. And it was lovely. I really, really so enjoyed sharing and talking and conversing with you. So thank you for having me here and letting me share the Akashic wisdom with your listeners.
And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.